I will come back and get back to my boxing and iron out all my imperfections. And trust me, I will be back with a vengeance.
Good. Right, let's go. Good. Let's go.
Well, there's no one who's going to beat him. I just think technically, physically now, he's at the weight and he's adapted and he's adjusted. I mean, he's even adjusted and adapted his weight for this fight individually. I mean, he put on how much weight and slowed the actual feet down because Daniel Dubois' feet were...
Daniel Dubois disappeared into the shadows after Oleksandr Usyk took him apart. When the lights were brightest and the stakes were highest, Dubois wasn't just beaten, he was exposed, outclassed, and broken down both physically and mentally. Now after months of silence, he's...
I got on my radar. I want to put someone to sleep again and get back out there and show the people that, you know, I am the man. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for everyone.
Suddenly re-emerged, talking about a comeback and making bold claims that he's ready to fight anyone, including Usyk again. To many, this return to the spotlight doesn't feel like the roar of a rejuvenated contender. It feels more like desperation than dominance.
Happened and, you know, if he wants proof and everything, go and ask the border control doctor that came and saw me. But everyone talking, like, I just want to silence all of that. But I'm just ready to go.
This is the same fighter who was spotted partying before facing Usyk, a night that was supposed to be the pinnacle of his career, but ended in a sobering masterclass from the Ukrainian champion. Now he's trying to sell the public on the idea of a different outcome, but for those who saw how the first fight played out, the talk rings hot.
Is a disgrace to the sport of boxing. I don't know how or why he's got this shot. Don't think he deserves it. Hasn't beaten anybody of any note. Loses all of the big fights. I sincerely expect Fabio Wardley to go out there and smash him to pieces. I do. Fabio Wardley is the who needs him. He's on.
Hollow. Former world champion Duke McKenzie has been blunt about Dubois' flaws. He's not alone in seeing a troubling pattern. A fighter who, when the heat of battle reaches its peak, finds a way to fold. McKenzie points to key examples, pulling out against Joseph Parker, taking a knee against...
He's in a room with civilians, with people that are not getting in the ring, are not putting their life on the line to totally get smashed if they get it wrong. They're living in make-believe land. He's the one that's getting in there to do the job. You have to take yourself away from that and put yourself on another level of existence. You've got to do that, and fighters will understand what I'm saying.
Joe Joyce, and effectively surrendering against Usyk. His resume, McKenzie argues, is padded rather than proven. Yes, there are wins on paper, but when it comes to the elite level, the unforgiving nights where only grit and courage keep you in the fight, Dubois has not shown the resilience needed to truly compete. A comeback, McKenzie says, means nothing if you crumble.
But when you get to elite level, you can't get away with it. I don't think Daniel has the capability, strength in regards to talking to his dad or standing up to his dad or standing up to that setup. I don't think he has the strength to do that, and which is why it will always hold him back. You got to look. This is personal business, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. Caroline, she as far as I know, she doesn't work with her dad. There must be a reason for that.
Every time the spotlight burns hottest, Johnny Nelson digs even deeper into the real problem. In his view, Dubois was living in a make-believe bubble before facing Usyk, surrounded by hype, protected from criticism, and lulled into a false sense of security. While Usyk was sharpening his sword through world-class preparation, Dubois treated the lead-up like a social calendar. The problem, Nelson says, isn't just about conditioning or tactics, it's about backbone, the willingness to take control of your own career and make the sacrifices required to reach the top. After the Usyk loss, Dubois vanished just as he did after the...
I thought up until that round, I thought it was a pretty good fight to watch. And Daniel's obviously very disappointed. He's in the dressing room at the moment, and if he's going to come back, he's got to learn from it. He's only 27 years of age. I look back at, Frank Bruno, for example. 3 times he fought for the world title, and he got it in the fourth attempt. And Daniel, he's won a world title. So
Joyce defeat. To Nelson, that disappearing act tells the story. Real fighters face the fire. They don't run from it. Frank Warren, Dubois' promoter, is doing what promoters do best, spinning a crushing defeat into a learning experience. He points to Dubois' youth as a reason for optimism, even drawing comparisons to Frank Bruno's persistence after losses. But there's a key difference, and Warren's critics are quick to point it out. Bruno didn't vanish. He rebuilt after setbacks, fought his way back, and did it with grit and determination. Dubois, on the other hand, disappeared after Joyce, disappeared after Usyk, and reappears only when the conversation turns to a big payday. Learning from losses is one thing, owning them is another, and until Dubois publicly accepts responsibility for what went wrong, many won't believe he's truly capable.
As you're not in party mode, you're in fight mode. You're in, I could be walking to a certain death mode here. This is the hurt game. This is a dangerous, hard sport where people get seriously injured in there. And when you're fighting, you want to be in the mode of fight mode. Let's go, I'm going to battle, I'm going to war, I'm a fucking warrior. I'm going in there to do some damage and potentially getting some damage done to me.
Capable of change. Carl Froch doesn't mince words. In his eyes, elite boxing is no place for a party boy mentality. Before the Usyk fight, Dubois was seen celebrating as if he'd already won, clinking champagne glasses instead of locking in mentally for the toughest night of his career. Froch knows what real fight preparation looks like. He lived it. He fought wars, and every ounce of his focus was on the battle ahead. Dubois, in contrast, treated Fight Week like a social event. When the bell rang, the difference was glaring. Usyk was laser sharp, adapting, controlling the tempo, and picking Dubois apart. You can't flick a switch from party mode to warrior mode overnight, Froch warns. Mental discipline is the thin line separating champions.
No, I think Daniel was in the right mindset. I mean, I just think that Usyk had too much for him, like too much mental, too much experience, too much. He had too much for him. There was nothing he could do about that. If it was a smaller Usyk like it was when he fought the first time, maybe Dubois had a good chance. But now that Usyk is bigger and stronger, he already has this. So yeah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap for the heavyweight division now.
Champions from pretenders, and Dubois has yet to prove he's on the right side of it. Shane Mosley is one of the few voices giving Dubois a sliver of credit, saying he did at least enter the Usyk fight with the right mindset. But even Mosley admits that mindset alone wasn't enough. Usyk's ring IQ, experience, and mental toughness created a gulf that Dubois couldn't bridge. Mosley notes that perhaps a smaller Usyk might have given Dubois a better chance, but that version of Usyk no longer exists. The Ukrainian is now stronger, sharper, and more battle-tested than ever. That's the danger for Dubois in a rematch. He'd be stepping in with an even more complete champion. Mosley's conclusion is blunt. It's a wrap. The gap in class, technical and mental, is too wide for talk alone to close.
I think the only people who used to party before battle with the Vikings were, and they used to get pissed up and, you know, dull the senses and then go and have a fight. But they were going to proper die if they, you know, if they were into battle. It was a do or die situation. So maybe it's the same mentality, but.
Trainer Dominic Ingle delivers one of the most brutal assessments, using a Viking analogy to highlight Dubois' lack of warrior mentality. Vikings went into battle knowing they might die, yet fought without hesitation. Dubois, Ingle says, partied before the biggest test of his life, dulling his edge before facing one of boxing's most dangerous technicians. Ingle's worry is that this isn't an isolated incident but a pattern. The post-loss disappearing acts only strengthen the perception that Dubois is more concerned with image than with genuine improvement. Usyk, by contrast, embodies the traits of a true champion: discipline, relentless preparation, and the refusal to give in under pressure. Tony Bellew focuses on the heart of the matter. Literally, he boils Dubois' Usyk performance down to a single moment of success. One solid body.
He landed one decent body shot the whole fight, to which Usyk tapped his belly and just said, "What was that?" And then there was zero else coming back. And that's, in my opinion, that's the attitude and that's the mentality of a guy that when the going gets tough, he doesn't want to fight. And you can never change that.
Body shot in an entire fight. When Usyk returned fire and the resistance grew, Dubois wilted. Bellew stresses that true champions bite down on their gum shields, dig deep, and find ways to turn the tide when things go wrong. Dubois, in contrast, looks for the exit. Bellew's critique cuts deep because it's not about technical skill, it's about heart. You can fix a jab or improve your conditioning, but learning not to quit under fire is a far harder battle, and until Dubois shows he can survive in that fire, his promises of being ready for anyone sound like damage control. Bellew also points out that Dubois' post-fight commendations of Usyk sounded hollow, saying "I gave everything" doesn't convince when fans saw him slow down, stop throwing, and eventually surrender.
Him on the performance, I gave everything I had. It just wasn't, probably a few things I could have sharpened up on, but take no credit away from the man.
David Adelaide gives a clinical breakdown of where Dubois went wrong. From the opening 30 seconds, Usyk's jab dictated the fight, forcing Dubois backward and into hesitation. At the elite level, hesitation is fatal, and Dubois practically handed Usyk control. Instead of imposing himself and making Usyk respect his power, Dubois fell into a pattern: jab, angle, combination, rinse and repeat, with no effective response. That's not the sign of a fighter ready to challenge the very best again, until Dubois fixes that tendency to freeze when the tide turns. Adelaide says, the result of any rematch would be the same, another Usyk schooling. Dave Allen is even more blunt, saying the footage speaks for itself. Dubois took the final shot from Usyk, got up, and walked away without protest, not the reaction of a man desperate to fight on. Quitting is a harsh word in boxing, but when the same scenario repeats, taking a knee against Joyce, standing up at 10 with
assessment, Daniel was thinking too much. There's times when I could see Daniel being a bit hesitant. He was sitting there thinking. He did let his right hand go and he did throw a lot of shots, but I think sometimes when you overthink it, you give Usyk too much time. And when you give Usyk time, you kind of let him play at his own sort of pace. Usyk established the jab from like the first 30 seconds, which was, you know, look, like it just shows his level.
No objection against Usyk. It stops being an accusation and becomes a reputation. At the highest level, heart under fire is something you either have or you don't, and Allen sees no evidence that Dubois possesses it. When you strip away the talk, the excuses, and the promoter spin, Dubois' so-called comeback feels like smoke and mirrors. This is the same man who pulled out against Parker, partied before Usyk, and disappeared after being schooled and stopped by the Ukrainian master. Now he's back making grand declarations about fighting anyone. But readiness isn't measured in words. It's proven when the punches are flying, when a man like Usyk is bearing down on you. Dubois' track record in big moments is littered with disappearing acts, quitting accusations, and mental lapses.
At the count of 10, and he walked straight past Usyk, straight to the corner. He was completely fine. I think, and you know what, it's horrific to say I've quit. It's not horrific to say I'm quit. I'm chairman of the quit committee. I'm top quitter, I guess. Anyway, he quit, yeah.
That true champions simply don't have. Usyk, by contrast, has faced the best of the best, adapted mid-fight, and overcome far greater challenges without breaking. That's the fundamental difference between a champion and a man trying to convince both the public, and perhaps himself, that he belongs in that company. If Usyk wins again, it would cement his dominance and perhaps close the book on Dubois as a top-level heavyweight. If Dubois somehow shocks the world, it would rank among the sport's biggest upsets. But history and heart point in one direction. This isn't just about belts. It's about mentality, willpower, and the ability to thrive when the fire is hottest. So the question for boxing fans is simple. Do you believe the master technician Oleksandr Usyk will school him again? Or can Daniel Dubois finally silence the critics, stand firm in the storm, and flip the script once and for all?